I have been keeping very close attention to all of the players and everything that has been going on in the Chargers offseason practices so far. With that being said, there is one player that has flown a little bit under the radar, really like a lot under the radar, that has actually impressed me now on two separate occasions in practices, and they were both on two different clips where if you just like blink for half a second, you will miss it. The player that I'm talking about is undrafted free agent Tre'Mon Morris-Brash from UCF. Now, I made a video about him and all of the other undrafted free agents that we signed as soon as we signed all of those guys, but he is an edge rusher and number 57. And if you go to the Chargers website, you can see his name is Tre'Mon on Morris-Brash. That's a typo. They need to fix his name on the website. But anyway, that's who it is. Tre'Mon Morris-Brash, number 57 on the Chargers. He's an edge rusher. He initially caught my attention from one play that he made in OTAs that not a lot of people kind of noticed or picked up on this one because it was only in the Greg Roman mic'd up video. Let me walk you through this. So first thing you're going to notice is that this is against the first team offense. We got Isaiah Spiller, Quentin Johnston, Darius Davis out here, Justin Herbert in that beautiful gold jersey. But here's the offensive line matchup right here. Trey Pipkins is at right tackle. So this is one of those times in OTAs where he was actually at the right tackle. Now he is like officially slotted in at guard. Jamari Sawyer in there at guard, but you can see that get off by Trey Pipkins. He's always had a really good get off first off the ball. Here's Tre'Mon Morris-Brash right here, the edge rusher. Check him out going up against Trey. You can see this little step. Where is it? Boom, right there, where he just kind of indicates that he's going to go towards the inside and then flash out towards the outside. But then he plants that outside foot and then boom, puts Trey Pipkins in a freaking blender. That is a sack on Justin Herbert. Obviously, he can't touch the man or else Jim Harbaugh is going to burn him at the stake. But this ended up being a Quentin Johnston reception when it should have been a sack. Look at this in real time, man. This is Trey Pipkins, a starting caliber right tackle. I don't care how bad he has been in the NFL. Like, he has actually shown some ability to be like an average right tackle. Now he's moving into guard. Hopefully he can be better because, my gosh, Tre'Mon Morris-Brash just absolutely put him in a blender right there. And he had really good technique in that pass rush as well. And look at the other side. Rashawn Slater handling business on, I think that's Savion Jackson, number 54. But that's how it should look. Rashawn Slater looking down at the defensive lineman who was the backup instead of Tre'Mon Morris-Brash just absolutely dominating Trey Pipkins. Tre'Mon right here is looking like he is the NFL starter rather than Trey Pipkins, making Trey Pipkins look like he's the undrafted free agent. So obviously that was very impressive. And I noticed that as soon as that Greg Roman mic'd up video dropped a couple weeks back. But after watching that clip, I went back and I rewatched his film at UCF. Tre'Mon played as a true freshman and improved every single year that he was in college, and he was a 5-year player. His last year, he broke out and got double-digit sacks, but one of the biggest highlights of his game for me was his ability to play the run and set the edge really, really well. He also had quick hands and showed the ability to disengage with blockers, just like we saw against Trey Pipkins, those quick hands. But also, he had the ability to free himself up to stop the run with those hands. And that showed on his stat sheet. As you can see, he had 37 run stops last year, which was good enough to be the 7th most in all of college football. With the emphasis on establishing the run and stopping the run that the Chargers are going to have under Jim Harbaugh, that is an important stat to take note of. But his pass rushing ability is what really flashed against Trey Pipkins right there. And he doesn't just have like really quick hands and good run technique, but he also is really strong at the point of attack. And he's got like sneaky play strength. I saw a couple times against teams like Oklahoma, who have some pretty good offensive linemen, he would push back those tackles at the point of attack and be able to set himself up for a run stop, or just kind of set the edge and force the running back to go towards the inside, basically. He also has really good speed off the edge as well, so maybe that's how he was able to set Trey Pipkins up for that little spin move that he pulled on him. So he can use either his speed or his power to win in his pass rush. But the one thing that I wanted to see more of is his ability to convert his speed into power. I didn't notice that ability at all in his game, really, and I watched a couple of games of his, and hopefully the coaches can instill that in him because he's got the speed, and then he also has the strength, but in two different areas, he doesn't really blend those together to just get his pass rush going. And the leverage that he has, because of the size that he is, he's 6'2", 245 pounds, he would be able to really get up under guys with that speed, with that strength, have all those three blended together. He would be a pretty good pass rusher. Now that height and weight though, it doesn't really work to his advantage in the NFL, because let's just face it, he is a smaller edge rusher. He's kind of a tweener, doesn't have ideal length at that position either. He's only got 30-inch arms, and also doesn't have great athleticism scores. So that is a big reason that he went undrafted. The intangibles for him, they're just not really there, but the tape and the production were. That's basically like his draft profile coming out of UCF. Let's put this into comparison, because Melvin Ingram had the same concerns about arm length and size, but Melvin Ingram, he was 6'1", 265 pounds, and had 31.5-inch arms. So Tremon is smaller, has shorter arms as well, but that doesn't mean that it can't work in the NFL, especially if he's beating guys like Trey Pipkins like that in practice. And also the whole arm length thing doesn't mean everything, because we also saw on the other side of the line of scrimmage, Rashawn Slater, who had arm length concerns, handling business. And this isn't the only play that Tremon flashed in OTAs, because if you go back and look at this Tar Heap Still pass breakup, you will notice that before that ball was even thrown, look who is there in the backfield. That is number 57, Tre'Mon Morris-Brash, back there again, being a boogeyman with Max Duggan throwing the football. This is when I knew I had to make a video on this. He would have had 2 sacks if he was allowed to touch the quarterback, and one was against the first team offense, and this other one, it's against the backups, because that's Max Duggan throwing the football. Can't really see who is out there at the left tackle spot, but now that one play, it's not just a one-off. Like, he got better every year in college, and he has some traits that I like, but he just needs to get better at his technique and his pass rush, and maybe put on some weight. One thing that I said in my undrafted free agent video is that I actually thought he played fast, and he was dropped into coverage at times at UCF, and I might want to see him try to get some off the ball action at linebacker, because his size, it's pretty comparable to Junior Colson, although he is much less athletic. But that would be something that I'm at least interested in possibly seeing in practices or in the preseason, especially with his ability to stuff the run and the flashes that he has shown of being able to track down the ball carrier from the weak side on running plays. He's a high effort player, which is a very good sign with this coaching staff, because he's going to have all of the tools and all of the information needed in order to up his game to the NFL level. Now, the problem here is that Tremon is in a really crowded edge room right now, and it may actually be the best in the entire league. Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, Tuli Tuipulotu, and now you add Bud Dupree, not to mention Chris Rumph, who may or may not make this roster, depending on how he plays, but that actually might be the pathway for Tre'Mon Morris-Brash, is to beat out Chris Rumph, because he's been pretty lackluster in his career so far. He's entering his 4th year in the NFL, which is his contract year, so he's set to be a free agent after this season. Tremon, he signed a 3-year contract, which is what every undrafted free agent typically signs for, so he would be on a cost control deal for 3 years, and he's like the same exact size almost as Chris Rumph, while also being 3 years younger. Like Chris Rumph, he has had injuries throughout his entire career and has struggled to stay on the field. And even when he is on the field, we didn't really see the production that we wanted to see. He only has 3 sacks in his entire career, 14 run stops on 584 snaps. Tremon has 2 sacks that we just witnessed in unpadded practices. Like, I'm not saying that's a big thing, but we saw 2 sacks. We have heard or seen nothing from Chris Rumph this entire OTA, off season, really. This doesn't mean everything, but I'm just saying I would have liked to see Chris Rumph also show some flashes the way that Tremon has. And I think Tre'Mon Morris-Brash, he might even have a higher ceiling just based off what I saw from him in college as a run defender. And also, I think he's got some better play strength. So Tre'Mon Morris-Brash is another guy that I am going to be keeping a very close eye on in training camp. And I understand, yes, these are all unpadded practices, so I'm not putting a lot of stock into this. I'm not getting too excited, but I am just projecting here. But just the fact that he put Trey Pipkins in a blender like that, it made me feel some type of way. I'm going to be honest with you. You know what? Thank God that Trey Pipkins is moving to guard, but also, like, you know, Tre'Mon Morris-Brash, he might flash in training camp. And if you did not see my video yesterday, yes, Austin Ekeler is still talking about the Chargers, but hopefully this is the end of it.